If you require me to respond to every single thing you present in a Gish Gallop post, you are then required to respond to everything I present as well when I respond, or I erase your comment. The person who made this comment isn't going to get the comment read back. I'm just going to do the response. But suffice it to say, the person brought out random memes and words and threw them together in bullshit. Agenda 21 is a 1992 non-binding United Nations action plan to achieve global sustainable development by the 21st century, which you're currently in, and it became a failure as of 21 years ago. Because this is 2021. Using LEDs to spy on people works exactly the same as working incandescent bulbs. Seeing light-emitting diodes spy on people ignores the fact that it's just based on light and it being able to pick up audio. You can also bounce a laser off a mirror and that sort of thing. Triangulation is how we use both our ears to find a sound in a room and both our eyes to figure out how far away an object is and physically see it. This can also work for radio signals, but in a much more limited way, but it's more like sound. And just like multiple people in the room can help identify the location of something by sound only, that's how radio signals can work. Stingray is a cell site simulator and analyzer, and can become a man-in-the-middle attacker to intercept cell phone communications that would otherwise be considered encrypted. Embedded sensors, software, and other technologies used for the purpose of connecting and exchanging data with other devices and systems, also usually but not always over the internet, or setting up a network, or both. Being used by physical objects or things is IoT or Internet of Things. It has the same capability as your cell phone or a computer does, and, in my opinion, are in technologies and in devices things where it's much less useful, in my opinion. I don't really believe that, I don't believe that this is a very good use of technology, personally. That doesn't mean Internet of Things is a death ray. Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars was a 1997 debut rap album from the band Kill Army. It's also the title of something someone generated in 2018, but claimed that it was discovered in 1986, apparently trying to avoid the, I guess, search engine optimization obviousness of this. Someone claimed to be an employee at Boeing Aircraft in 1986 and said that he bought a surplus IBM copier for scrap parts at a government sale, and claimed he found a top-secret manual in it that was called, or he is now calling, Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. And it's being sold for a 10 spot. So, this is supposed to be something that was found at his own business, Boeing Aircraft, in a photocopier somewhere that got stuck there, and it's a top-secret manual. And the law says that if you find something like that and you try to sell it, it doesn't matter how many decades later, unless it's become declared no longer secret or has received the clearance to be released, you're guilty of releasing information that would be injurious to the U.S. government. Person is still walking around, but it's an anonymous person, and it's still available on Amazon. The U.S. government has banned people from selling, because it's electronic, e-books and Kindle files that contain diagrams on how to make a bolt-action rifle, because they claim it under international trade of military secrets rule, blah, blah, blah. But this is still up. No, it's not real. It's bullshit. Let's move on. Vladimir Benhai is a physicist at the General Physics Institute of RAS. He is known for theoretical work in bioelectromagnetics and a subset of it, magnetobiology. Magnetobiology is the study of electromagnetic and magnetic fields produced by any biological organism. It is not the study of electromagnetic radiation effects on human beings from cell phone towers. This is actually literally the polar opposite of what it really is. Anyway, there's also someone called Rosie Corrie, who is no longer with us. Was a forensic commercial real estate appraiser specialized in eminent domain valuation cases. That's a person who's appraising property that's being seized and hopefully compensated for equitably to a person it's being seized by for someone, let's say in California, having their property taken from them because they're in the way of a highway being built or something. And was also an expert witness on land use and was the district branch chief at California Department of Transportation. After some setbacks financially and legally, she wrote a 2011 book about climate change and Agenda 21, claiming it's all a green mask and political tool. She died from metastatic lung cancer May 31st of apparently this year. And her claims are seen by most to be her attempting to exploit the subject matter that was popular in search engine results at the time by making a book and selling it for whatever money. Spatial filtering combines elements of an antenna array in such a way that signals at a particular angle experience constructive interference and all the others hopefully experience destructive interference, making a directional antenna. There's a lot of directional antennas. And also using signal processing techniques for directional signal transmission or reception, beamforming. Normally this is done to just make a directional antenna, but it can be made into an array of antennas that can interact with each other to try to make it aim in one direction or another with variable results. A simple reflector or a Fresnel lens type arrangement is much more efficient, but you can make an antenna you don't have to twist and aim out of a bunch of antennas and have them feed signals, but the directionality goes completely to shit, and it becomes overly complicated, and it creates beat frequencies and nodes out in space in every direction, so it's not as directional. Or you can just use a dish. This is brought up a lot when people talk about HARP because it's a multiple array of antennas and did use beamforming so they didn't have to move something that's like hundreds of feet across. That's not the same as a cell tower in the area that could just have a little electric motor point it somewhere. So beamforming, while it may be used in some ways to optimize transmission and reception, isn't part and parcel of 5G. 4G band usage by Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, etc. in the United States compared to 5G. Primary frequencies are 700 to 900 megahertz for 4G, and then the rest of these are 4G. 1.5 gigahertz to 1.9 gigahertz, 2.1 gigahertz to 2.3 gigahertz, and 2.5 to 2.6 gigahertz, all under 3 gigahertz and all just above 600 megahertz. Same named companies, 5G bandwidth, 600 megahertz to 850 megahertz, low band 5G is an entire range of frequencies. Specific peak points, or most used ones, are at exactly 600 megahertz and 850 megahertz at low band. This is 5G. I'm talking about the ones that are actually in use in the United States right now. Not what you could technically do hypothetically, but what is actually being used by cell phones and cell towers. 1.7 to 2.1 gigahertz, still within 4G bandwidth. 1.9 gigahertz, again within 4G range. 2.3 gigahertz, again same thing. 2.5 gigahertz, again within 4G range. Finally, everything out of 4G range that's 5G is 28 gigahertz and 39 gigahertz. 60 gigahertz is not used in the United States for 5G. It is, however, used for unlicensed, short-range, less than 2 kilometer, and less or around 2.5 gigabit data links. It's unlicensed. Nobody's using the 60 gigahertz frequency, but people are complaining that somehow it must be causing frogs. I don't know. It doesn't matter. And the reason it doesn't matter is, again, this was somebody just dumping buzzwords. None of these frequencies have been shown to cause any of the medical problems I'm going to list, and if you have any of these, it could be indicative of many different diseases, and you should go to a doctor. Actually, I'm not going to list them. It's just a whole plethora of them, most of them matching up with the flu and also the recent pandemic. The point I'm making here is deciding that someone has a symptom or a group of symptoms and it can't be COVID-19 during a pandemic, it has to be 5G, doesn't fucking make any sense, and I don't have to take you seriously. Go to a doctor. Don't go to a soothsayer on the internet. At 1 megawatt, 300 megahertz to 300 gigahertz, depending on what you're trying to hit, a microwave-directed energy weapon can disrupt electronics at about a kilometer away maximum and potentially have lethal effects to some life forms inside of a 100-yard range. That's it. Potentially lethal effects, meaning a person might die from, not cancer, might die from consequent damage to their digestive tract from boiling water in them, I guess. But really, there isn't any information about this except skin damage, actual surface burns. But we're talking about 1,000,000 watts. Down at the 23 watt range, it can break electronics if you're within 5 feet of a transceiver that's doing this for radar. The only example of anything that could be in the 1 megawatt range are things that are fixed to the ground and are aimed out of Israel and the United States to pick up missile launches from a long ways away. We don't use one anymore. There's also the Russian woodpecker one. That's the name of it. Telecom and radar. So unless you see something almost a football field across, no, nobody is aiming a directed energy weapon at you. And again, the maximum range is about 300 feet. There's also something called a maser, microwave laser. That's a thing. Again, it's got a limited range, but it's a little bit less limited, 400 feet. But then it only does an area this big because you're normally using it to destroy missiles. And guess why we don't use them? Because they don't fucking work even for that anymore. It's amazing what a little metal does. 2019 April. Which country became the first to activate 5G for customers within its borders? The United States and South Korea became the first countries to do this. It wasn't China. It was April 2019. I even included that in the video. But yeah, the United States had 5G before China. It has nothing to do with any kind of disease transmission. The next one to do it was the Philippines in June of 2019. First one in Southeast Asia as a country to roll it out. November 2019, China rolled out 5G in 50 of its cities. But 2020, August 19th, Shenzhen became the first Chinese city with full 5G coverage as a system. The claim that Wuhan was the first city with full coverage is bullshit. And again, it was reusing 4G frequencies, like I just mentioned above. Smart meters, or the smart grid, intermittently, 1% of the time or less, use a carrier current technology through the power lines at anywhere from 1.7 to 80 megahertz, or an RF transmitter, 1 watt limited, at a 902 megahertz, or a quarter watt limited at 2.4 gigahertz. You can check this by using a detector or receiver to find it. They're less than a quarter watt at 2.4 gigahertz, and 1 watt at less than a gigahertz. And then the person says, I'm part of the Fourth Reich. And you can read the statement below. I told the person if they want their comment to post, they have to respond to every bit of this. I spent X number of hours waiting, no response. Okay, comment's going to be removed, and this video will be the only evidence this person ever posted on my channel. Now I have a minute left. Yes, this was a Gish Gallop, and it was incredibly hard to look up, and took hours and hours and hours to look up. I'm just answering your questions. That's the name for the video. Someone barraged me with several dozen assertions that have no merit by ignoring the definitions for what they were typing, or the people it came from, or what the wording means, and twisting it up whatever they want to. It's not allowed on my channel. This person has a channel with no merit and got mad at me for saying that Agenda 21 is a failed project that started in the 1990s and never got anywhere. Because it didn't get anywhere. It didn't meet its goals and it's gone now. Yes, people keep trying to resurrect it, but this is the UN. They can't even stop us from arguing in the room. It's a joke. So is the UN. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with every bit of that.